Take it away, deep voice guy.
The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management,
Yeah, but they should.
the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors.
Did we leave anybody out?
Listener discretion is advised. Between science and ignorance, there is filler. Paranormal filler.
Wow, that was overdone.
Between science and ignorance, there is filler.
And welcome to the show, everyone. This is Wes Forsyte, the host of Paranormal Filler, your weekly look into paranormal stuff. I want to get you a belated Halloween out. Didn't do the Friday night show. Didn't get booked. So this is the first time that you've heard me since last Sunday. Live. God, I'm everywhere. Anyway, happy Halloween. I do want to mention that I got to watch John Tenney's new show, Ghost Stalkers, this past week. Loved the first show. Second show, didn't like it as much. I'll talk about that probably in the future. But it's still, it's a nice, clean concept. In other words, when watching the show, I didn't feel like it had been done and done and done. So kudos to John Tenney on Ghost Stalkers and Chad Lindbergh. Good luck with that. Let's see here. Drew, if anybody's watching on the webcam on liveparanormal.com, by the way, ihuntghost.com is my website, and liveparanormal.com brings you this show every week. Anyway, I've got card. I drew an angel card for the show. It's the Orion Gate, which is the service card from that deck. And I think that's appropriate tonight. My guest is Chris Kehler, and we will be talking about spiritual surgery, energy healing, and such. So we've already got him on the line. And so that's tonight's show. Do want to throw out, I'm going back to doing the fan of the week, I think. Candy Burke of North Carolina. You are the fan of the week. No, you win nothing except recognition and maybe some Twitter followers. Check out @TheCandyBurke if you're on Twitter. Of course, go to ihuntghost.com. There I have my paranormal calendar. I have my Twitter feed links. I've got Facebook link. I've got all of the many loved, absolutely loved, beloved, that's the word I'm looking for, beloved broadcast partners that carry Paranormal Filler to you every week all over the internet.
Paranormal filler.
While I'm on the topic of Twitter, sorry, as if I was on the topic of Twitter, it's weird. This past week, suddenly, I am getting a large number of followers whose profiles indicate that they are evangelical Christians. And I don't have a problem with that. I grew up in an evangelical Christian church. I love religion. I love spirituality. So no problems with that. But because I'm not, air quotes, that type of Christian, it makes me nervous to have that many evangelicals following me. All of a sudden, it's like they're setting me up for some really bad article somewhere about how I'm dragging you all into my own personal hell, and so I thought I would just mention that. Let's see, anything else on here? I do want to, let's go ahead and I'll do that later in the show. So I think that's everything on my notes. I'm pretty well ready you will notice also that I don't have a co-host tonight. Jen Anderson was on the road, so I said, you know what, I'm going to just take the reins back and do the show. And, one more thing, if you're watching on the webcam, I don't know if you can see it. It's here, right there in my hairline. We were working on the farm today, and I managed to brain myself, not once, but twice, on a piece of farm equipment that has a handle that sticks out that's normally well above my short stature, but if you pull the handle down a little bit to make the equipment operate, it is right, obviously, at the level of the top of my head. And I hit that son of a bitch twice. And so if I'm a little off my game tonight, I hope you'll understand, because I could have a concussion. So anyway, let's get Chris on here, and we're going to be talking to him about spiritual surgery, energy healing, holistic healing, and all that stuff. Let's see here, find the right mouse, because I have 3 on my desk. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Wes, thanks for having me on.
I want to say that you were probably the easiest guest that I have booked in the last 6 months. You kept in touch with me. You answered emails promptly. You seemed practically excited about coming on my show to talk about your work. And I just want to say that as a show host, we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for that. I do have my own show also that on Pyramid One Network. And I've done a good 150 different radio shows all across the Internet, and I know how important it is to be professional and prompt. It just goes with the territory.
Well, feel free to plug your show all you want tonight, because my success does not rest upon your failure. That's as close to being deep as I probably get during the entire length of the show. Spiritual surgery. Go ahead and give us a brief explanation of what it is you do in the energy healing field, please.
There are very many different types of people who do energy type of healing, energy work, spiritual work, quantum energy, whatever you want to call it. There's many names for the same thing. What I do, and this is what I do for a living, 5 days a week, 10, 11 hours a day sometimes, is I work with people who have specific health problems, and this could be any health problem whatsoever, from something physical, from something spiritual, something emotional, something mental, and all along that line. So what I do is people will call me up on the Internet, they'll call me on the phone, they'll come into my office in Winnipeg, Canada, and we will use a pendulum. We'll have a series of charts that I've developed, and I'll start asking my pendulum and my guides specific questions regarding this anybody's health. So let's say you have blood sugars that are always very high, and even though you eat properly and you exercise properly and do all the things you're supposed to, your blood sugars are high. So what I'm able to do is to find out exactly why your blood sugars are high. I'm able to find out why your blood pressure is high. Any problem whatsoever we can work with. A health problem is a health problem is a health problem. And the way I work is I don't pigeon everyone into the same hole. If 5 people call me with diabetes, they don't necessarily have it for the same reason. So we need to work individually with the person to find out what it is. So you come to see me and you've got high blood sugar, so we start asking questions and looking for answers. Now, the answers that I find with my pendulum, they go into the spiritual realm of things. So there's a good possibility you may have a spirit attachment. You may have some type of poltergeist, some type of negative energy that's involved that is part and parcel to the whole problem. Then we do all those clearings. We get rid of all the spirits. We cut the cords and connections with anything that could be possibly demonic, anything that could be occult ritual in nature, anything of a spell. We move all of that out, and then we start looking for the physical problems, which could be a calcium buildup, it could be a virus, it could be a mineral deficiency, whatever. So we look for all those things, and once we find them, the way I do the spiritual surgery is I use sacred geometry tools, such as pyramids, such as sacred geometry rings, and I basically take this tool, hold it up to the person's head, or hold it up to the computer or the phone, whatever I'm using to work on this person with, I say the words to remove whatever it is I find. So if I do find a virus within your pancreas, I just say the words, remove the virus, and at the quantum level, working in the same capacity as the law of attraction. When you want to attract something to you, you need to put out the intent to bring it into your life. So that's what we're doing, is we're working with intent. We're working within the law of attraction type of scenario. We're accessing the spirit, God, quantum energy that we all use every day for various things that we don't even realize, and we're putting it to work for us to get rid of the problem. And 90% of the time, it does work. Over maybe 3 or 4 sessions, various different ailments gotten rid of, and leaving the person without the health problem anymore.
Believe it or not, I followed that. Now, first of all, I'll throw it out there. I consider myself a bit of a light worker, but now I'm a blunt object. I have all these psychics and mediums telling me, you need to be healing people, and I just cannot wrap my head around something that I cannot see with my eyes. So that's my own personal limitation, but I do like working with healers. Now, it sounds to me like you're a whole lot more, we'll use the word precise, in-depth than most of the energy workers that I'm used to dealing with. Most of them, find, we'll call it a hot spot, and then they concentrate and work it that way. But I like that you use the pendulum to pinpoint the problems down and work with guides and angels and all that stuff, because it's just what I'm into. Now, working with guides, first thing I want to ask you, do you think you've been, we'll call it, assigned a very specific and capable group of guides to help you with this?
You can certainly say that. I am working directly with the God of Love and Light. I am working directly with the Son of God of Love and Light, with various other aspects of the heavenly realm within that area. I'd have to say yes, I've been assigned some very high up beings in that realm.
See, now I got assigned like bar bouncers and heavies, so that's part of my problem why I can't heal people very well. Now, I do listen to psychics and mediums and energy workers talk about physical ailments and how they often find the attachments that you brought up. In your opinion, do the attachments come first and cause the ailment, or does the ailment afflict your body and it creates a weak spot that it opens up for the attachment?
There's a few different scenarios as far as that goes. Well, what I see mostly, and everything I talk about are things that I see within the work that I do for people, and when I see a result after what I've done, that's how I know that there's validity and proof into it. So I'm not just making things up or giving my opinion on things. It's actual results that I see. So what I generally see is that if a person has, say, a deficiency in a mineral, deficiency in calcium or sulfur or sodium or something like that, they've got this already a strike against them. When a negative entity is going to come into your body and perceive to place some type of spell on you or bring on the health problem, they're going to utilize that weak area within your body against you. So generally, you've already got some kind of disposition. It's going to be taken to a different level and be concentrated within a specific area. So in other words, if you've got diabetes and you've got a specific problem in the pancreas, how come it's just in the pancreas and not in other areas of your body? You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I do. That falls more into what I feel. The reason I started off with that question is that I've worked with some people that anything that's wrong with you, they want to blame on an attachment. And I'm always curious about how they feel about the chicken and the egg concept. And it sounds to me like you've got that down where you deal with the affliction, but am I wrong? You don't necessarily blame any particular affliction on the paranormal activity.
There has been instances where it's just been paranormal activity within a person causing the problem. I'll give you a case. a person came into my office and wanted to do a live blood analysis, and I asked her what the problem was, and she told me about this pain in the right side of her body that she's had for the last 20 years. And they took out her gallbladder, took out her uterus, and did a few other surgeries. The pain would not go away. So I introduced her to the work I do, and she says, you know what, right now I'm set to do anything. Let's just, if you say you can fix this, let's fix it. So I started dowsing, and the first thing that came up is that within her ascending colon on the right side of her body, there was Lucifer. There was a demonic right there. So I looked at her and I says, well, we're going to remove a demonic energy. She goes, okay, I'm open, let's do it, let's just figure this out. I started working on removing this being out of her colon, and after 20 years of that pain being on the right side of her body, it had moved to the left side of her body. She looked at me with her eyes wide open and her jaw wide open and said, what just happened? The pain moved. I looked at her and said, the game is afoot. We're chasing Lucifer around your body. We chased her around a little bit, and all of a sudden I was able just to pull him right out and send him over, and immediately the pain went away. So that is one case, and there's been others like that where it is just a paranormal experience. But, yeah, you're right. Generally, it is a combination of both. There's always some kind of negative energy of some kind that's within our body, and we all have it. Everybody has got a type of an ET entity within them. Everybody has got some kind of attachment. Everybody has got some kind of controller, a game controller within them that pulls the strings and directs energy to go specific places and causes things to happen.
Yeah, I didn't mean to indicate that there was any one rule, because I know with working with one healer in particular, she helped a lady that literally was losing blood. The doctors could not explain why they had to give her blood transfusion. It was like her blood was disappearing. And God bless you healers' hearts, she went in, did the removal thing, and the problem's gone. Now, I don't care if you want to chalk that up to coincidence, in her mind, or whatever. It worked. So I'm a believer. So let's say that let's put that out there, that I've encountered enough people that absolutely swear by these type of healings and energy work and entity removals, that I guess you could say sometimes I think it gets that hand of cards gets overplayed, but I really do think there's something to it, something big. Now, sacred geometry. First of all, talk to me like I'm a fifth grader. Explain sacred geometry to me.
Sacred geometry is shapes and design. Let's take the pyramids of Egypt. That is sacred geometry. When we say it's sacred, it means that it's got a specific special use to it. It holds a sacred energy. It holds secrets and knowledge. So it's sacred. So there's many different types of sacred geometry. There's the pyramid, the four-sided pyramid. There's a three-sided pyramid called a tetrahedron. There's circles. Circles are sacred geometry. They do have an energy, and if you were to take your pen and draw on a piece of paper a circle, and if you stood over it, there's a small chance that you might feel some kind of tingling or energy coming off of it. There's one type of tool I use, a sacred geometry tool called a neutralization ring. And what this ring does is it's designed, the geometry of it, because it's a circle and it's got tines on the inside of it, little spikes that go point to the inside. When you stand over it, you actually start pulling negative energies out of your body, and you feel it happening. You feel a grounding effect that your body is trying to be pulled into the ground, and you feel off balance. You feel things happening. That's how powerful the tools are that I use. So different shapes, different types of geometry hold a knowledge. They hold a secret. They hold an energy to specifically do something.
Where did you learn to work with these tools? I mean, this doesn't sound like something that, they teach in technical college.
Oh, heck no. Let me give you a brief history of how I got into this work.
Sure.
It was about 9 years ago, my first wife passed away. She had a rare disease called scleroderma. And at that time, I was in the printing trade. That's something I'd done for about 30 years. And when she passed away, it enabled me to retire. So at 46 years old, 47, I stopped working. And the old saying goes, one door closes, another door opens, and found myself in this store in the mall that I go to in Winnipeg, and this guy he's showing me about muscle testing and herbs and all these different things. And I thought that was kind of cool. So long story short, I started taking some courses. First, I started taking a course in muscle testing, and then I bought a radionic device, working with radionics and frequencies. And then after taking a few courses in that and starting to use it, I met a fellow by the name of Wayne Gatos, who owns a company called Crystalline Incorporated. He builds these tools, and he sells them all over the world, and people are able to use them for healing. Now, the thing about these tools and this person who makes them, this guy makes the tools to make money to support himself. His real job, is to run energy into the earth grid in order to clear out the first and second dimensions so that the earth can go into the fifth dimension consciousness. He is an extremely high energy person. I just spoke with him yesterday, and he informed me that I went into my level 8 of wizardry and that I'm now going to be able to do a lot more healing that I've been doing. That's how I got into this. You meet one person and it just brings you to where you need to go. Your guides are basically pushing you, go this way, call that guy, look at this website, just to bring you to where you need to be.
Now, I do believe that. I believe that a lot of the people that I've been drawn to, that I've met in the field, were brought into my life. Matter of fact, I believe my wife was brought into my life for a purpose.
Mine was. I got remarried 5 years ago. Let me tell you this story quickly. She's 15 years younger than me, and we got together. She looked at me and said, if we're going to stay together, we're having kids. And I was pushing 50. I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to start having kids at my age. So I did some research into it with a psychic, and apparently we have been married in past lives, and we had kids together, so that energy was there, so I felt more comfortable with it. But yes, my guide, I know God brought me this person because we needed to be together, and we needed to spend another lifetime together.
Now, another word you threw out there that is a fairly new word to me, although you kind of touched on it, frequency. Not frequency is not the new word. Radionics. Give us a quick definition of what radionics is.
Is the use of frequencies for everything vibrates at a frequency. So the computer sitting in front of you, it's got plastic, it's got metal, it's got chips, it's got glass, and everything vibrates, has a vibrational frequency. And with radionics, we're able to remove the frequency of something out of something. More specifically, use it for a healing purpose. Let's say you have a mold virus within your liver. If you put the frequency of liver, which is, it's in a book that we have, and you just dial in the frequency, you take the person's frequency, which is like a hair sample or a saliva sample or even a picture. You put that within the device, you put in the frequency of liver, then you take the frequency of whatever the virus is, you put that in the device, press a button, and then the machine goes to work and just vibrates out the last frequency in succession out of the person. So that's how I got started working with energy for healing before I got into the tools. There's many, many different types of radionic devices. A lot of people use them for bad things also. You can use it for good, you can use it for bad. There's many, many different types. There's dial machines, there's just intention machines, there's water machines, many different types. But that's how I got started in the energy. And I use my radionic device mostly now for creating different frequencies that I put in silicone wristbands that people can use for healing. So it is a very functional device. I don't use it for healing anymore, more using the tools, because that's working directly with God, quantum energy, instead of just working with the vibration.
Okay, you kind of explained some. You explained that very well. I have a friend, Willie Windwalker, and he uses a tuning fork to find. You don't even have to tell him what's wrong. He uses a tuning fork, and he'll say, "Your knee hurts, doesn't it?" So I was wondering if that was what that was. But now what you described is a little more in depth than what he does, obviously. What is the most common ailment, complaint, however you want to term it, that people come to you for? What's your specialty, I guess, is what we should be asking.
There's so many things. Every day is something different. Two of the most common things are, of course, everybody's got some kind of back pain or knee pain or something like that, neck pain. A lot of people got neck pain. Within those people with those types of ailments, with pain in the muscles and pain in the nervous system, I work a lot on calcium, and that's a calcium excess that builds up within the muscles and within the nervous system, sometimes causing spasm and causing pain. What I do with that is I look to see, first of all, are you getting too much calcium? Because too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing. And I proved that last night when I went to a social. Just kidding. You also have to look at the absorption factor. Is the calcium absorbing properly into the bones, or is it building up mostly in the muscles? You have to also look at, if you're on a well, do you have hard water? Do you have lime scale? Do you have different forms of calcium that aren't absorbing and building up? Now, I also look into the muscles. There's a cell in the reticulum called the ion pump. Let's say move your hand to clench a fist. Calcium gets pumped into those muscles to make the contraction. And then the ion pump pumps out the calcium to complete the contraction. But if that pump isn't working properly, the calcium is going to build up, and it's going to cause a spasm. It's going to cause a buildup of calcium. So that's one of the biggest ones. Another biggest problem I see a lot of is the herpes virus. And this is herpes 1 to herpes 10. There are many different types, but one of the biggest one is shingles. Now, probably like 1 in 5 people have got this herpes zoster shingles virus. And it is very painful. It is very hard to get rid of. But when you're working with energy, it is very easy to deal with. My mother-in-law had shingles. She saw me twice, and the shingles is gone. So, I'm now the favorite son-in-law, the story goes. That is one of the biggest things I do find within people. But mostly everybody who comes to see me, they don't know what the problem is. They come to me and say, look, I've gone through the entire medical system for 10 years, saw specialists, nobody can figure this out. Like fibromyalgias and things that doctors give a name to, but nobody knows what it is. But I'm able to find out at the very deepest level, the very root level, exactly what it is and get rid of it. So herpes is a very big one. Calcium buildup and muscle pain is also a very big one.
Everyone, we're speaking to Chris Kehler, holistic healer, and we're talking about spiritual surgery. Quick plug to this month's my sponsor for tonight's show. I do want to go ahead and get a plug in for him. The Paranormal is a world full of mystery, questions, intrigue, people, places, and things. Explore the paranormal with George Turner Paranormal Magazine, www.georgeturner.us. Now, on the entity attachment front, okay, I have physical ailments. I'm a farm boy. I'm always hurting something. I've got bad shoulders. All the energy workers that have ever worked on me and Reiki healers and stuff, they've never found anything, we'll call it live, attached to me. Now, occasionally they do find energy that is not my own, that needs to be grounded off of me, that I haven't managed to deal with. But what makes some people seem to be more prone to getting an actual, we'll call it another word, I'm not even sure it's the right word, intelligent attachment? An actual entity. What makes some people more susceptible to that? Because I'm apparently not.
There's a few different scenarios. One of them is there are spirits walking the earth, and of course there are people that die and their spirit is still here. They haven't crossed over into the light yet, and they're looking for a way out. They just can't look at the light and go to it. They need somebody to help them over. Like they need something in the angelic capacity, or sometimes even just one of us live 3D humans. I do have a few clients that once a month they come to see me and they say, okay, it's time to clear me out, because these spirits will attach onto these people knowing that they have the capacity to send them over. And if that capacity is for them to come see me, and then I just use my tools and just tell these spirits, hey, go to the light, okay? And they just do it, and then all the pain within this person's body goes away, and they feel a big emotional release, and then the problem is gone. Simple as that. There are spirit attachments that can come in, like I said before, demonic, but there's also what we call the poltergeist, and in German that means ghost that makes noise. These are ones that like to cause some problems now and then, and they can become slaves with a demonic possession, and then the poltergeist goes into the body and starts doing whatever it needs to do, or whatever that they're instructed to do, whether it's bring in a virus, whether it's create emotional trauma, whether it's to create a mental problem or a depression problem. Quite often it's somebody who has, let's say, who does a lot of drugs, somebody who leaves their aura weak, so their protection, the light around their body is not keeping anything out. As soon as a spirit sees a crack in somebody's aura because they've been smoking marijuana or they're doing drugs or they have a very unhealthy lifestyle or they have a weak energy system, they can get in, and then they're in. They're good until somebody like myself can move them out. Those are, the two basic scenarios as to how spirits get in.
Okay, you're preaching to the choir on that front. Now, what you call poltergeist, I always referred to as spiritual wildlife, because to me that type of entity, it doesn't have its own agenda, other than eat, drink, whatever. Now, I hadn't really thought about it's them being told to do this. In other words, the hierarchy of it, but that's I like that you brought that up, because that is something that I have encountered in the field, but that's how I refer to it. I think of it more as just spiritual wildlife, that it's not necessarily there to hurt you, but the effect is the same. If you can expound on that.
Poltergeist. Now let's say Adolf Hitler is dead, but his spirit is walking the earth. Do you think he's a good boy now? No. He's not a good boy. You take murderers and rapists who've been put to death through the justice system. You think they're good people now? No. They're walking the earth, and they're still trying to cause trouble. So there's your wildlife. They're still partying. They still want to create havoc, and now they just do it at a different level.
Okay, I was thinking about something less intelligent, although I do think that certain human entities, when they walk the earth long enough, basically, if they get into mischief, I think they devolve. In other words, they can become something just as dumb as a lion, because that's what they do. They prey on people, on the living. But they lose that humanity part of their existence. Is that something you agree with, or do you is your view on that a little more knowledged?
There's so many secrets that are kept from us about this whole dimensional reality, whether it's people living in the realm of spirits or whether you're in the 3D human realm. There's so many secrets that are kept from us. And because what's happening now with closing in of the fifth dimension, with the higher consciousness coming in, for people like myself, when I douse, when I do my meditation and get messages from my spirits, they're giving me more and more information. They're giving me more heads up on exactly how things work. There's things I found out yesterday by talking with my toolmaker in Alberta that would just make people's minds shatter that this is really happening. The secrets about how everything works are starting to come around, and it's starting to make a little bit of sense. It kind of puts the whole, what we think we know, completely to shame. Okay, there's so many things going on in the spirit world that if we really knew what was happening, we would just be beside ourselves. So there are spirits who are just walking around and wanting to create havoc. There's spirits who have no choice. There's spirits who don't even know they're dead. If you watch the movie, what's that one with that little boy, I See Dead People. I forget the name of it. But yeah, you know what? It's really hard to explain exactly what's going on in that realm. I just play cleanup. If something's in there, I clean it up and get rid of it.
That's like I said, my job is to be a bar bouncer. Although I do want to say on that. What was I going to say? You said something really profound, and it and I lost it in enjoying your explanation. Now, of course, you do this for a living, which you realize that sullies you in some people's view if you actually do it for a living. I've never understood that. They let people don't mind paying for other things, but if you produce results, more power to you. Now, on average, somebody comes to you for, let's say you decide it's a mineral deficiency. How long do people remain your clients on average? I mean, how long does it take you to heal somebody?
It all depends on the situation, of course. I'm working with a gentleman in Scotland right now who's quadriplegic, So somebody like him is going to take 10, 15, 20 sessions before we get right down to it and do all the clearings and start building things up. If you got a heart problem, you see me 2 or 3 times, and that's basically taken care of. If it's a blood pressure problem, once or twice. But sometimes with diabetes, it can be a prolonged process because it is such a complex disease in itself that you have to be able to get in and clear out everything. There is a lot to do within diabetes. Not everything is simple, but there are some things that comes to me once or twice, the problem is taken care of. But what generally happens, you get rid of one problem and another problem comes out, another problem shows up, and then you have to start clearing that. Generally, 5 times. Some people get a little addicted with this because what we do is once we fix the problem, we start doing enhancements within your energy so we can bring up your consciousness. We can make you more intuitive. We can help clear those areas. And the more you dig, the more you find. Some people, they do an appointment a month for the rest of their lives because it's just helping them so much at that level.
I can see that because I know I've got a lady that I call it a spiritual enema, but basically it's Reiki work. And when she's available, when she has time to see me and I have time to go see her, I like going in just to get my energy cleared. It makes me feel better overall, both spiritually and physically. Now, I do remember my really profound question I had a moment ago. You were talking about the secrets of the universe. Are they really secrets, or are we just limited by the questions we're asking? I feel like sometimes they're not allowed to just come out and tell us, but if we ask the right questions in the right way, that a lot of us can get enlightenment through our prayers. What's your opinion on that? I'm not sure they're secrets. I think they're just like, it's more like a puzzle that we're supposed to put together.
Well, you're right on both counts. You do ask the right question and you get the right answer. When I'm dowsing with my pendulum, I have a chart that I use to ask what question to ask and how to phrase it. If you phrase it properly, answer me these questions 3, blah, you can get in. So if you use the right question, yes, you can get the right answer, but there still is certain things that we just can't know yet until the time is right. There is these different things. One of the things, there's different veils. We call it a blockage or a veil in order to get through. And I'm just learning now that there are different types of veils that are set up by the dark side, by the demonic, by the energy that was running this planet. And those are all different types of veils in order to keep people like me from finding the problem. They have specific names. There's the veil of spells. There's the veil of planets. There's the veil of time matrix. There's all these different veils that are placed upon us that are designed to block me. We weren't allowed to know those because they didn't belong to us. They didn't belong to the God of love and light. They belonged to the God of humanity, who was Satan for the past 10,000 years. So once now Satan is gone, now these things can start to come up. Now the secrets are available. And now within every one of us, within all of us, we hold some type of energy, some type of light, some type of secret that the God of love and light has put within us to hold on to until it's time to give it back to him. And that time is now, with the whole new shifting of this consciousness, this 3D realm and reality, shifting to a 5D pattern. He now wants these back so he can use them. Now, when we get attacked, a lot of people, a lot of clients I have, they say that they feel they get attacked, and that is a spiritual attack. There's different entities that's bombarding them, and they just feel certain things on a nightly and daily basis. And that is the dark entities trying to get at these secrets. They're going through our chakra system. They're going through our DNA. They're going through our memory, all the way through our past lives, and they're looking for these secrets. So when you get rid of the secret, you give it back to God, who wants it back. Now all of a sudden the target is off your back. So that's another reason why we get bombarded all the time by these dark son of a guns, I call them.
Okay, boy, you make a person. You give me a lot of stuff to wrap my head around, and the bad part is, you haven't said anything that I necessarily disagree with, and I'm not used to that. Okay, now this is one thing that they've been. I mean, I guess since I've really heard a lot more of it since 2010 through 2012. You talk about, moving into this fifth dimension. A lot of the psychics and mystics, they talk about the enlightenment. They talk about, we're changing ages now. Things are, in their description, it's going to get better. Now I'm going to ask you a real-world question. I watch the news, and I see what's going on in the world, in our country, all around the world, and it seems like things are getting, on the spiritual level, on the moral level, are getting worse. Is that something we have to go through to have our epiphany, or what have the angels and guides and gods told you about what we're going through now?
There's a couple scenarios, and the biggest one is that as the Schumann resonance within the planet, and that's what the vibrational rate of the Earth. Forget what it always was stagnant at 24.7 or something. Please don't quote me. I can't remember exactly what it was. As the Schumann resonance rises within the Earth, anything that's at a low vibrational rate is now vibrating out of the planet. It's vibrating out of us. It's vibrating out of the energy of the planet. And on its way out, it's causing a wrath. It's like smacking you on the back of the head as it's leaving, pretty much. And that's where we're seeing. I have a friend who's a firefighter in Winnipeg, and he's been doing it for 30 years, and he says, Chris, in the last 6 months, I've never seen so many suicides. People are committing suicide. People are doing strange things. People are acting out and lashing out because they're having emotions released from their bodies. They're having all these different things change physiologically within their minds, and now they don't know what it is, and they're just going, I can't handle this. I need to kill somebody. So that's generally what it is. It's just a release of all this negative energy, and it's the storm before the calm. The best way to describe it is it's just a release of bad stuff, and on the way out, it's just causing a little bit of trouble.
So according to the inside information you've been giving, we are going to survive this.
We are going to survive this. It is not going to be any kind of big apocalypse. In all reality, come on, we all, for some reason, we're all sick-minded, and we want something bad, big and bad to happen. We want a big asteroid to hit the planet and cause mass death for some reason. I don't know, but we always expect the worst to happen. If you read the Bible, I'm not a Bible thumper, I don't really read it, but basically everything that's written in there is written to say that everything's going to happen on an etheric level. Everything in the Bible is all etheric. It's going to happen on the energy level of things. And then it's saying, as above, so below takes place. So that something happens, let's say in the sixth dimension, a clearing happens, then it's going to affect the Earth eventually. It's the sixth dimension will get the flu, we'll get a cold kind of thing. So it will vibrate down. When we have a health problem, it generally starts in the aura, and it starts there and it starts to come through the physical body. Is there going to be a big apocalypse? I really don't think so. I think if anything, there might be some enhanced volcanic activity, some enhanced earthquake activity, and we see that all the time. There's always earthquakes, there's always volcanoes. I think it's just going to be a little bit more of what we have all the time. What I do get is that there might be a very huge solar flare that comes and hits the Earth, and it could knock out the energy grid for a few days or something like that. And in that case, what that'll do is it'll reboot all the energy within the planet, within the cable system, within the telephones, within the electricity, so that anything that's an attachment that's living within there will have to leave because there's nothing to ground to anymore. That's basically the worst thing I'm seeing is maybe just an outage of power for a certain amount of time. I don't see anything really bad. There's a lot of people who love to create conspiracy, people who love to create fear. Now, that word itself is the biggest word you have to try and get out of your head is the word fear. Everything that happens within a spiritual level, anything that's negative, like an attachment, anything demonic, lives off of fear. The more fear we have, the more they eat. That is their food. If you could just get fear out of your mind, all of a sudden your life becomes a lot more calmer. All of a sudden things aren't as bad as they used to be. But you look now with Ebola, you look now with the wars happening, ISIS and the Ukraine and Russia and everything else, it's all about fear. So knock out the fear, and what do you got left? All you got left is love.
I like your scenario better. I don't worry about like a asteroid hitting the planet, because I'm one of those people that if that's God's plan to squash, to snuff out life on the planet, so be it. I don't worry about stuff like that. But I will say that if the electrical grid went down for 3 days, I can see the United States of America becoming a Mad Max movie, because we have become so dependent on these little boxes that I have in front of me. These little, I don't know what people could do without Facebook for an extended period of time, and I think that worries me more than anything else. Oh, okay. Now back to your healing. Let's close out the show talking more about your good work. Now you mentioned, I am curious. This is something I ask pretty often to people that work in this field. Is it the same to you, or is it easier or harder, remote versus in person? If somebody comes to your office or whatever, is it easier for you to work with them, or is a Skype call just as good?
To me, it really doesn't matter. The bonus thing about coming to my office in Winnipeg is that I can do live blood analysis, so we could look at a different aspect of things. We can have minerals accessible, that if you do need a mineral or a supplement, it's there. Those are the bonus things, but ultimately, I work on people in Australia, New Zealand, Russia, Europe, the Middle East, all over the world, and they all get the same results. There is not one place we cannot access. And oddly enough, when you're working through the internet, through the computer on Skype, it does enhance the energy a little bit. If it's going through the right signal, it will enhance it. Sometimes it can be a bonus to work through the internet.
Good enough. Let's close out the show now with getting you some plugs to get people to find out more about you and what you do, and possibly hopefully my angel card that I pulled where I was doing a service tonight. We'll find somebody that you can help. Let's start. First of all, tell us a little bit about your radio show that you do.
The radio show is called A Quantum View. It's on the Pyramid One Network every second Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I do have certain guests on that I feel are appropriate for the show. Generally, the show is all about healing. I will have people call in, and if they have a specific ailment, we'll heal it on the show. We'll do a mass healing sometimes where I'll send energy out to everyone who's listening to do clearings. So it is a little different. It's not just interviews. It's actually doing healing type of works. It is very unique in that way. And there are lots of people who do these shows, which is fantastic. My website is chriskehler.net, and that's spelled CHRISKEHLER.net, not .com. You want to talk to that guy. You said some weirdo. But chriskehler.net. What you can do is, if you want to book an appointment, there's a button on the front page that says book an appointment. Just press on that button. It'll take you to my calendar, and you can book your own appointment on my website. My prices are only $55 per 1 hour session. I'm probably the cheapest guy out there when it comes to doing this type of work, and I want it that way because I know that if you got a bad health problem, you're probably not working, and I need to be able to help anybody who wants to come my way and ask for my help. So I'm very inexpensive. I'm not going to take all your money, and I'm going to do the best I can for you in the hour. We do lots of work in an hour.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on Paranormal Filler tonight and sharing with us your knowledge and your work. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Wes, thank you so much. I'd love to be on again sometime.
I will do my homework, and because I didn't cover half of the notes that I had here, you kept getting me enthralled on a tangent, and then I'd lose my place. So look for that email. I will definitely have you back. So thanks again, Chris.
You're welcome.
And everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in to Paranormal Filler tonight. We've been talking with Chris Kehler. I've been saying his name wrong, and he was too nice to correct me, but he is a holistic healer and energy worker, chriskehler.net. And another quick thank you to tonight's sponsor, George Turner Paranormal Magazine, www.georgeturner.us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.